We are here on Sports News. My great friends Julian and Vanya are there as well. How are you guys?
Very good, thank you.
Hi, Regan. How are you?
I'm very good. We were just setting up the call and Vanya jumped in, and I've not seen you for so long. It's so great to see your face.
Thank you. You too.
Go on, do whatever you're doing now, and I'll get on with this.
Yes. Have fun, guys. Bye.
See you. I'll speak to you later. Bye.
It's been a while since we've seen each other, hey?
As I think it was Win Games last year, or it might have been the year before. It might have been this year.
Yeah.
Losing track.
It's been a while. But you know, every time I think of you and I have breakfast, I enjoy a good glass of Fresh Prince orange juice. So
yeah, I've just had my glass of juice because I thought it was a little bit early, so I've had mine already. But it's a great way to start a day,
isn't it? Right? So healthy.
Julian Barthel, you do a lot in skydiving. You are a coach. You're a coach, examiner of tandem and AFF. You're a canopy coach. You're a free fly coach, tunnel instructor. You do it all. Quite highly listed at the moment with the Flight One Canopy School, which you've been running all throughout Europe as well. Currently based in Portugal on the Algarve. Now, crazily enough, that's somewhere I've never been. How is it? How are you finding it?
Oh wow, you've never been here? Wow, it's amazing. You should definitely come. So it's a beautiful place. I'm really pleasantly surprised how it is here. I'm going surfing almost every day. So I actually started surfing when I moved here. So it's beautiful. We're actually living a couple of meters from the beach, so we get to enjoy that every morning. Sunrise, sunset is amazing. The food is great. The people are amazing, and the drop zone is spectacular. They have an amazing organization, very professional. The Swallow group, they're very organized and see things through with safety. So it's a great place to be at the moment.
It's that time of year, Christmas, where people's plans are up and down all over the place right now. I've normally been at the Seville Christmas Boogie. That's where we've worked together in the past.
Correct.
This is my first Christmas without an event for over 30 years. You've got the Boogie happening there. How's it going to work though with the travel? Are people still arriving? How's it working?
So it's actually a really busy Boogie. They have had, I think it's because Skydive Algarve, as far as I know, is the biggest drop zone operating, or one of the only drop zones operating in Europe at the moment. And they've had over 400 registrations. So people are coming in by the dozen. Yesterday was the first day of the Boogie. It was very busy already, which was great. Load organizers are coming from all over Europe. Luckily, with the travel restrictions, they can still come in, and they have an extremely high level to cater for everybody, for belly, wingsuit, free fly, tracking. Everyone is here. You've got the vendors, you've got Hans from PD, you've got Irma from Tonfly, Fabian from Boogeyman, etc. So there's a lot of people. Now, especially since they've expanded, when they've opened, they'd only had one hangar. Now they have a second hangar, which is even bigger. So they have massive capacity. And of course, their famous Dornier G92 aircraft. They have caravans. And I think once the Boogie really starts picking up, which is usually around the 26th, I believe it was the same in Seville. They start flying with 3 aircraft and have a 4th aircraft literally 40 minutes away. So they're really ramping up the game. And as you might know from the British nationals, they have the capacity and to run 4 aircraft at the same time and literally pump out loads like crazy. So I think it's oops, sorry. I think. Button here, sorry. It's a great place to be, and the mood, the weather is amazing. We've got 25 degrees today, sunny, so it's really, really good.
25 degrees sunny. Oh, wow. How are you coping with the COVID restrictions? What is the operation like, different than what it would have been before a pandemic?
So the drop zone is very thorough with the safety with the restrictions, obviously adhering to what the government is saying. So at the moment, I believe it's groupings of 5 need to be maintained. So no more people than 5 in a group. Obviously, masks everywhere. Within the aircraft, they have to wear the masks until it's time to exit. And generally the social distancing is respected. So here it's very much respected at the drop zone, also in Alvor. Luckily, this region is not so affected by the virus. not like Northern Europe, which is now starting to shut down again, especially like Germany, Switzerland, etc. But here in Portugal, luckily we are very much doing very well. So everything's open. You can go around unrestricted. You can go to the beach. You can go jumping. Especially sports is not really affected and maintained open. Now, just today, I believe for UK people, they have closed the borders of Portugal because there was a new strain that has come up, and there's a lot of infections. So I believe there was a couple of registrations that were from England, and they now don't have the possibility to come into Portugal. So that might affect the numbers, but then I believe that there was quite a long waiting list since the main days of the Boogie were already booked out. So as soon as those slots open up, I believe there's going to be others that get on the list and fill those slots.
It's really good to see you active and happy and healthy and energized. You're a very positive, shining light within the sport. You really are. You're so good to be around. I remember working with you in Seville at the Christmas Boogie a couple of years back, and it was just about your transition period. You were moving on from there and you were heading out to different places, and I could just see your energy. You were ready to move on to another place, and I think that's the key in a lot of full-time sports. You need to know when it's time to move on to the next place. You seem very happy where you are right now.
Yes, it's very nice to be able to do what you want, right? So first of all, thank you for the compliment. That means a lot from coming from you, because obviously you have. I've told you this before when in personal conversations. You've definitely left a good impression on me always with how energized you are and how enthusiastic you are. So I love that about you. For me, yes, I've had, especially the move on from when I worked in Skydive Spain and I changed to Empuria. That was a really big step, and it took me a long time to follow through with that decision, because I felt very at home in Seville, and I had a very good base, and I built a very good system for myself. Basically, I was in charge of the free fly school. I was doing canopy courses. I was working there as a full-time instructor, load organizing, everything. So basically, a lot of the steps that I had in my career were because of the opportunities that were presented to me there. And moving on from something like that is obviously always a hard step to do. But in the end, it was a complete transformation moving on. As you said, we met in Seville at the Christmas Boogie right when I was in that transition period, and I think we even had talks there that I was struggling with whether it was the right decision or whether. But then afterwards, my career just skyrocketed. I ended up joining Flight One and getting a lot in the tunnel, joining records. It was really the right thing to do. So it felt right, and even though I doubted myself, then taking the step was very liberating, and has only led to even more opportunity.
It's a big move, and it's a difficult one as well for a lot of people looking out from the outside, not only in skydiving, but in all air sports. If you find yourself in a situation where you're doing what you love, it's your career, you're in a beautiful place, and you're at the top of your game, to change that and move on to something else. I mean, I've done it a few times. It is hard. It's hard to know if you're making the right choice. What advice can you give anybody if they're in a situation right now that feels like they're at the top of the game, but there's a little idea at the back of the mind there might be more to get? How would you decide?
Yeah, so I would say if you're if you have the feeling that there's that glass ceiling that you're hitting, right, and you're almost in a perfect place, but you know that you can achieve more, and you know deep down that it's calling you to go somewhere new, then go for it. You need to go for it. Like it's because in the end, especially in air sports, we do this, we do our activity because we love what we do. And if we have that little voice in our head that tells us, hey, we can do more and we have the opportunity. Obviously, opportunity is something that we create for ourselves always, right? If we're really looking for the opportunity, then it's going to present itself. And to move on is a natural step, and it's going to feel like a massive weight is lifted off your shoulders. That is one of the best feelings that you can possibly have. I can tell you that from experience. I've done that a couple of times in my career, and it was always that I struggled before. I had that voice in my head. I moved on, and it was just amazing. It was way better than I even imagined. And if you don't follow that, if you ignore that little voice, that's going to turn into regret. And that is probably the worst thing that can happen to you, that you have regret. You start stagnating and you start resenting what you're doing because you don't feel like you're living to your full potential and you're doing what you could. So even though it might hurt momentarily to move on, the reward on the other side is so much greater and so much more. It gives you so much joy that it's always worth it to do that step. Now, there's always the danger of doing that step prematurely, right? So when you have a feeling like that, obviously, if you have somebody that you confide in, and you can have that talk and have a good hard look, an honest look at where you are and whether it does make sense in your career to make that step, or if that person gives you the feedback that they say, hey, maybe take a look at this, and there is actually something more that you can do where you are. You need to make that decision. It's very circumstantial. But generally, if we're really talking about that you're at the top of your game and you really cannot reach any further, then it's a natural step. It's a natural progress. It's going to feel difficult in the beginning, but it's going to pay off.
It's important as well to have something outside of the job, out of the work. No matter how good it is, being on a drop zone, jumping out of planes, it's one of the most amazing opportunities you can have to do as a living. But you've got to have other things. And you were just saying you're surfing every day. Having something like that, just one thing outside of the airfield, it's a massive difference, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's really, really important. And I actually have felt the negative effects of not having something like that. Quite recently, actually, I've been working, as you said, like for a long time in skydiving, and I have literally lived for skydiving day and night for the last 11 years, right? And I've been full-time in the sport for 10 years, and I've worked without a break and without giving myself or allowing myself that space outside of skydiving. And now, having had that opportunity to come here and to discover surfing, and now I have the plan of starting to paraglide in the future, is something that is really filling me up with joy, and it actually makes you show up on the drop zone more energized, revived, and with a better energy, and that makes you come to your job more prepared, more aware, more vitalized, and you can show up better for yourself and for the people that you work with. So in the end, sometimes in the beginning, when you really have that honeymoon phase with skydiving, it's almost preposterous that you say, I want to do something else, than skydiving. But if you really want to go for it in the long run and you want to stay active for a long period of time, which is my plan, I really want to stay around in the sport for a very long time, for as long as I can. Right? It is important that you have a healthy habit to take care of yourself outside of the sport.
And we touched on being at Seville. Was that your first full-time position in the sport, Seville?
No. So the way I started actually was that I worked in Skydive Leo for a year, for one season in 2000. So I started there in early 2011, and I was sort of doing an internship with Marcus Laser from the Instructors Academy. And at the same time, I was working as a coach and camera flyer already on the drop zone. And in that same season, 2011, I got my AFF rating. Then I had to go back to Germany to finish my university because I still had a couple of classes left. And Marcus ended up hiring me straight out of university to work at a part-time drop zone in Greece, in Athens. And so I was working in Athens for 2 years. At what's now Skydive Athens. It used to be the Greek Freefall Club. So I was working there for 2 years, and it was a weekend drop zone. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday operation. That place ended up closing in 2014, early 2014. And from there on in, I moved on to Skydive Spain.
How was that? Were you doing tandems there at the Greek one?
Yes, so I was basically the only full-time employed instructor, and I was doing AFF, I was doing tandem, I was doing video, so I was doing a bit of everything. But yeah, it was very different when I changed to Seville. I remember the first day, I thought I was jump fit, and I showed up the first day, and basically they were like, okay, cool, so it's a pretty easy day, you know, we're gonna start you off first of all doing tandems, because they had some work on. So I was just doing tandems, and they made me do, I think, 8 or 10 tandems in the first day, and I was so excited, and that I completely forgot to eat. Completely forgot to drink, and at the end of the day, I literally like crawled out of the place and was completely done for. Yeah, it was quite the experience. It kind of it's nice when you get to a new place and you see like, okay, there's a lot of room to grow here, you know, and that's what happened then.
When you were at school, when you were younger, what did you envision you were going to do in your life career?
So, funnily enough, because you have the aircraft in the background, right? Funnily enough, I actually wanted to be a stuntman.
Ah.
So I wanted to be a stuntman. I don't know exactly when I got that idea, and I always wanted to skydive. I was like one of those kids that I had my Playmobil figurines, and I was building out of serviettes. I was like, paper towels. I was building them parachutes and throwing them out the window and stuff like that. And at one point, when I was like 14, the good friend of mine was a skydiver that I got to know. He was working on a drop zone part-time in Germany as a videographer. So I was asking him questions about skydiving as much as I could. And since then, I knew that I was going to skydive. I did go to university. I studied sports science, but while I was in university first year, in the first summer term that we had off, I found a drop zone in Italy, inscribed for the AFF course, never having jumped before, never did a tandem, anything, just basically booked for 3 weeks, took a tent, went there and camped on the drop zone, did my AFF, and never stopped skydiving since then.
Fantastic. And you've really worked in the last few years on your diet and your health, and especially with Vanya as well, you're the power couple of energy. What difference has it made to you, the way you mentally think about your days and what you put inside your body?
So if you remember what I said, with the first day I showed up at Skydive Spain, I was literally completely neglected my nutrition and my drinking water, etc., hydration. So after that, I was really fixed on making sure that I always have the nutrition that I need to show up as the best version of myself, right? And as you said, Vanya really helped me as well, taking care of my diet, cleaning up my diet, etc. Now, as I said before, I've studied sports science, so I have a formal education in nutrition and training science, etc. So how to write training plans. And I do use that for myself. And what I do now is I make sure that I have a morning routine. So I do take care before I go to the drop zone that I have about an hour and a half to 2 hours optimally, right? So if I need to be at the drop zone at 9, I will be getting up around 6:30, and I make sure that I have exercised, I've meditated, and I've taken care of myself, and I've done a full check-in, made sure that I have had breakfast, so I show up well fed and already taking care of myself, and being there to fully show up for whoever I'm working with that day. And in general, yeah, if you're throwing drogues, like I've done in my last 2 seasons that I've worked in Empuria, I've done 1,500 tandems in 2 years, plus everything else I was doing. And you need to take care of your body if you want to survive that kind of strain, right? You will become fatigued if you don't take care of yourself. You will wear out. You will have injuries. So when you're in training, so when you're taking care of yourself, you're doing mobilization, stretching, etc., and you have a good diet, you're going to show up much more focused. You're going to show up much more prepared with physically and mentally, and that way you can obviously take care much better of the job that you have to do that day. And having worn a lot of different hats on drop zones, and sometimes having to switch between them within minutes on a daily basis, that level of energy and presence is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, you cannot do what you need to do on the highest level possible, and you cannot serve the people that you're working with.
Amazing! You've really got it down. You got it down. You really have, Julian. So, what's the plan with you and Vanya then for the going through the winter and into next season? You going to stick around there? Do you think?
Yes. So the plan is that we're gonna stay here until April. So I'm gonna be running canopy courses. I'm gonna be free fly coaching. I'm organizing tunnel camps in Flyspot in Poland, in both tunnels in Katowice and Warsaw. And so basically now I have clients that come to coach to skydive Algarve. It's a beautiful place to be. The weather is amazing, and I couldn't be happier, right? There's one thing that I've started recently, which is a project called Fly in Mind, where we are providing safety education. So it's an educational platform which at the moment is working on the basis of a newsletter, where I write exclusive content for people that are subscribed, and make sure that I provide safety education for people in order to step up their game and show up more safe and more educated on the drop zone. So that's something I'm really excited about that we're working on, and so we're going to push that forward, and I'm going to be present here working in all the disciplines that I've basically educated myself in over the last years, and obviously enjoying this beautiful Portuguese weather, surfing, and hopefully skydiving and paragliding as much as possible.
Brilliant. Well, I'm going to make a big plan to come down and bring the whole Air Sports News crew down and do a live interview.
Yes.
I need to visit Algarve. Julian,
whenever you want.
Real pleasure to catch up with you. I want to wish yourself and Vanya an amazing Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
All right. Merry Christmas to you too.